The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, while speaking at the 11th Annual Conference and General Assembly of the West Africa Association of Public Accounts Committees, an event that held at the National Assembly in Abuja with the theme Strengthening Parliamentary Oversight of Public Debt, Abbas, who decried the growing debt under this administration, saying, "We must reject reckless borrowing." He said, as at the first quarter of 2025, Nigeria's total public debt stood at 149.39 trillion naira, equivalent to about $97 billion. This represents a sharp rise from 121.7 trillion naira the previous year, underscoring how quickly the burden has grown. Even more concerning is the debt to GDP ratio, which now stands at roughly 52%, well above the statutory ceiling of 40% set by our own laws. This is not just budgetary concern, but a structural crisis that demands urgent parliamentary attention and coordinated reform. He called the growing public debt in Nigeria a signal of strain on fiscal sustainability, calling for a stronger oversight, transparent borrowing practices, and a collective resolve to ensure that tangible economic and social returns match every naira borrowed. Tajuddin Abbas concluded by saying that borrowing should support infrastructure, health, education, and industries that create jobs and reduce poverty. Reckless debt that fuels consumption or corruption must be exposed and rejected. Oversight is not just about figures, but about the lives and futures behind those figures. How can anyone say that these people don't know what they are doing? So Abbas is aware of this. He should take his own advice. This is a self-indictment, not just on Abbas himself, but also Godswill Akpabio and Tinubu, who is behind all these borrowings. Yes, in less than 2 years, he already beat Buhari's borrowings in 8 years. So imagine what he's going to do in 3 years, in 4 years. Abbas was referring to only first quarter. That 149 trillion naira is the debt as at the first quarter of this year. We are not talking about the recent request by Tinubu for them to grant him another borrowing to the tune of $21 billion. This just happened last week or 2 weeks ago. So he should take his own advice. A man that stood by and broke Nigerian laws. The Nigerian law says that if the National Assembly were to decide anything concerning the request by Tinubu to declare a state of emergency in Rivers State, that they must conduct a head count of the members voting for or against. But he looked at that law and brushed it aside, looked at Nigerians in the eye and told them, you can't do anything, I can do anything I want in this House of Representatives. That was why instead of conducting a head count, he did a voice vote. The fact that Tinubu went ahead to appoint a sole administrator in Rivers State after the declaration of state of emergency, he even conducted a swearing-in ceremony for the sole administrator. He did all that because he knew the National Assembly is a rubber stamp, that anything he wants, in fact, the National Assembly members will always be waiting for him to just say it. Say it and it will happen. They will grant his wish. That was why he went that far. If he wasn't sure of their support, that they would authorize him to declare that state of emergency, he wouldn't have gone as far as telling the man to go to Rivers State and take over. No, because he knew ab initio they will never reverse him. That was why they did it the way they did it. Mago. Instead of obeying the law says conduct a head count so that you know the people that are saying yes and the people that are saying no. But instead of doing that, because they knew they didn't have the votes, even among APC members, they didn't have the vote. Many of them didn't want to support it. That was why they did that. So after subverting Nigerian laws, how can he come out to claim to Nigerians that we should reject the public debt or reckless borrowing? It doesn't make sense. They are deceiving themselves. They know what they're doing. They know all the right things to do, but they can never do it because they have an agenda. Their agenda is to impoverish Nigerian people. The more you have more poor people in the country, the more politicians have their way. That's how it works. Because imagine that majority of Nigerians are prosperous. That majority of Nigerians can afford a new car. Yes, in most countries around the world, you can afford a car with just a few months of your salary. Not that you have to pay cash for the car, no. that advance you need to pay, down payment you need to pay, and the rest will be spread up to 3 years for you to repay, you can afford that with just a few months of your salary. But it's not possible in Nigeria. Even if you don't make any expenditure from your salary in Nigeria, you can save for 10 years, 15 years, even 35 years, your entire years of service, but you can never be able to afford a brand new car in Nigeria. That's because the country is not working for everyone. It's only working for politicians. Steal elections, do anything you want, and get to power, Nigeria will start working for you, because the country will give you a brand new vehicle. A vehicle that is worth more than 100 million naira. Not even the normal cars anyone can buy. No, they buy the latest Jeeps, the latest of the latest. That's what they drive. And not just that car, they also have escort vehicles. They move around in convoys. They also have security men, bodyguards attached to them. So all that you are crying in the streets, all that is happening, they don't care. It doesn't affect them because they are living the good life. So this is the reality. They don't want others to live the good life, because if you live the good life, they cannot push you around. They cannot use religion or ethnicity to hoodwink you during elections. They cannot tell you, you vote for this person because of religion, or you vote for this person because of ethnicity. They hoodwink you. You do as they want because of the peanuts they give you, or the rice and palliatives they give you. You do what they say because you are poor. So imagine if reverse is the case. These people will not be in power, because if you can afford a good life, you cannot allow any politician to deceive you. This is why the country is not working. So until Nigerians wake up from their slumber and say, despite the fact that they are impoverishing us, we will reject that money. After all, it is stolen money. We will reject that our money they are giving to us. Tell them to their face, this money, it is stolen. We will not take it, but we will take back our country. That's all we want. And once that country is taken back from these people, things will work for everyone. Yes. And to reinforce that they know what they are doing, after this news was released by many Nigerian newspapers, they started seeing it in a negative light, despite the fact that this is very reasonable. It is a reasonable statement that anyone that means well for the country will say. But they started denying it, releasing counter statements saying that he was quoted out of context. He doesn't want to fall into trouble with Tinubu. Yes. Otherwise, why is he denying the statement? Someone that was quoted verbatim. So these people know what they are doing. They don't want to say the truth to Nigerians. They paint a different picture. They posture the fact that Nigeria is working, that everything will come back to normal in a space of a few months or 1 year or 2 years. It depends on their mood. Tomorrow they will tell you they need another term to actualize what Tinubu is doing. The next day they will tell you, it's just a few months, that the economy is stabilizing, this, that. Even Tinubu himself claimed that he is no longer borrowing. Can you imagine? This was after making the request to borrow $21 billion.
No, those who may not know will not know. Today I'm standing before you, I can brag that Nigeria is not borrowing, it's dying from local bank.
Does it ever make sense that a man who is not paying petroleum subsidy, Buhari paid petroleum subsidy for the 8 years he was in power, and he also borrowed, he printed more than $50 billion, equivalent in Naira, but he didn't borrow as much as Tinubu borrowed, despite the fact that he paid subsidy all his years in power. So it doesn't make any sense. Where is the money going into? Abbas here saying that borrowing must support infrastructure is a direct indictment on the Tinubu administration, because it means that Abbas knows there is no infrastructure to support the enormous borrowing Tinubu has executed under his administration. Yes, this is not any other person saying it, but someone that is a part of the administration is saying it. That's why he's now saying that it was quoted out of context. They know what they are doing. They need to wake up to their responsibilities and conduct that oversight. That's if they are going to do it. But they will never do it. If they conduct that oversight, they will see that all these borrowings are going into private pockets. Sometimes you hear that millions of Nigerians were paid 10,000 or 5,000 per month, and no one ever comes out to claim, I was paid, I received so alert from the government. So this is how they spend all the money. It needs to be said again. This administration must prove where they are spending all these borrowings. You are not paying for petroleum subsidy. Nigerians are not gaining anything under this administration. Electricity tariff has been increased by this administration. A lot of things. Look at the taxes and the 5% petroleum tax that is coming up in January. All these new taxes, they are still borrowing billions of dollars. It doesn't make any sense. And all these borrowings have never translated to an improvement of Nigeria's economy. Under this administration, Nigeria's GDP went from around $300 and something billion as at May 2023 to less than $200 billion now. So it does not make any sense however you look at it.